should tell you, when I was a young man, one of my first real jobs was to go to Ottawa and be a legislative assistant for Preston Manning, then the leader of the Reform Party. And one of my jobs was to work as a young staffer on the question period questions that we put to the Liberal government. And I had a boss in Parliament, and his name was Jay Hill, MP. Well, Jay is now the leader of the Maverick Party, and I haven't talked to him in a while, so it's a bit of a reunion. We're not going to talk about old times. We're going to talk about his latest political project, the Maverick Party. We spoke to one of his star candidates, Tariq El Naga, the other day, so it's a pleasure now to join Jay Hill via Skype from Calgary. Jay, great to see you again. You haven't aged a day, by the way, since you were my boss about 25 years ago. Nice to see you again.
Ezra, you always were so, it just flows, right?
I was going to say,
and I won't elaborate further on what flows.
Yeah,
but, it's great. It's great to see you again.
Well, likewise, and you can take a little bit of credit and a little bit of blame for all the things I've done since I worked with you on Parliament Hill. No, I'm kidding. Those were great days, and I think you and I both learned a lot about challenging the status quo. I think there were some wonderful times in the Reform Party. In the end, I don't know how successful it was, but now you're the leader of the Maverick Party. Tell me what lessons you learned from the Reform Party experience that you're taking to the Maverick Party.
Well, Ezra, the first thing is I have to admit that I'm a slow learner. It's taken me most of my life to put together the fact that the West is never going to get a fair shake, a fair deal, or whatever you want to call it, out of Confederation, out of Canada, until we determine to change the way in which we're governed and we're treated. And so that's really what motivated the Maverick Party for me to come out of retirement a little over a year ago. Actually, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of Maverick. We're only running 29 candidates in Western Canada. We'll only ever run in Western Canada, Ezra, because the lesson I learned from Reform was that once we expanded and became a party running all across Canada, then you have to water down your message to try to appeal to where the votes are. And of course, those are in Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa, and that corridor from Windsor City to Windsor up to Quebec City. And we don't intend to make that mistake again. We're going to be effectively the Bloc Québécois of Western Canada and represent what is best for the West.
I was thinking about that very thing when I watched the debates. And like I say, one of your candidates joined us for a little pre-show conversation, because I understand why the Bloc Québécois leader was in the French language debates. And by the way, there were 2 French language debates, but only 1 English debate. I didn't understand why the leader of the Bloc Québécois was in that one. I mean, he's an interesting guy, but he wasn't running any candidates outside Quebec. He had nothing but contempt for Alberta and the fossil fuel industry, for example. And I thought, if he can be in the English language debate, even though he has no chance of being prime minister, he's not running any candidates outside Quebec, why isn't the Maverick Party allowed in any of the debates, including in the Quebec debates? I mean, it would seem analogous to me.
Well, not entirely, I guess. In fairness to Monsieur Blanchette, there are some Anglophones, I think, still residing in Quebec that would prefer to hear the English debate, whereas we're only ever going to run in Western Canada, as I said, Ezra, so we're not looking for any votes in Quebec.
Yeah. I suppose I was speaking more symbolically than anything, but it was quite symbolic to me to hear the French language debate, all the parties wooing Quebec at the expense of Alberta. Like, at least a quarter of that debate was just bashing Alberta. All the parties, I must say, in different degree, talking about wrapping up the oil sands. I just thought it was symbolically, it would be the same as if Maverick were in those debates. Now, let me ask you, I'm a little bit curious about the fact, we talked about this for a minute before we turned the camera on. I was surprised that you yourself weren't running, because I've gone through your list of candidates. There's some interesting people from different walks of life, but none of them really have national name recognition. They're not high-profile people. At least they didn't ring a bell for me. Whereas you have a long career in politics. How come you yourself are not running?
Well, Ezra, as I've been saying to people, I served 17 years in Parliament. As you know, you and I met when I was a very young and still dark-haired member of Parliament, and you were considerably younger as well. But I served 17 years, and I guess I just tell people I served my time. I was relatively happily retired until I started to worry about my 3 young grandchildren here in Calgary and what the future held for them with the way this country is being destroyed by the old political parties. And I'm increasingly concerned. That's why I came out of retirement to start this party. Having said that, myself and the 3 other former Reform colleagues that have also stepped out of retirement, none of us are running. You'll recognize the names. Val Meredith, Leon Benoit, and Alan Kirpin are the other 3. Between us, we have 60 plus years of parliamentary experience. And we're all working to mentor this new group of members of candidates that we hope to be members of Parliament under the Maverick banner. And that's our role, is to establish credibility for the movement and the party, and to build the party and mentor the next generation of Mavericks.
We're in a very important Canadian election, and I want everyone to see our premium shows that are normally behind a paywall. So during the election, anyone can get free access to our special premium shows, my nightly show, a weekly show by Sheila Gunn Reid and David Menzies and Andrew Chapados, by going to rebelnewsplus.com and using the promo code ELECTION, and you'll see the good stuff for free. Go to rebelnewsplus.com and use promo code ELECTION.